Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod, here to talk about Survivor Season 49, Episode 4, titled Go Kick Rocks, Bro. Last week on Survivor, the lovable losers at Kele were going through it. When Jake was taken out by Snake and Jeremiah ate his last worm, when Sophie and Alex voted him out. I put a link in the description to my playlist to catch up on my previous recaps. If you like the content, consider liking, subscribing, and using my link to try Paramount Plus for free. But let's dive into it. We pick back up where we left off. Sophie and Alex return to their snake-infested camp, having just voted together and solidified their bond. They feel battle-ready and experienced compared to the rest of the cast. Sophie hopes they're starting their underdog story. Well, their boat washes away, along with Sophie's shoe, meaning things aren't looking up just yet. The next day, players meet with Jeff. The hyenas chant. Their chant is not very good. Once again, it's no hoo ha la flor. Savannah calls them cringe. Jeff tells them the show was planning to swap at 14 anyway. Now it's a round sooner due to Jake's departure. Alex and Sophie spit on their buffs and bury them in the sand. Sophie shares their despair with the group, saying the ocean took her shoes and now she's wearing someone else's shoes. They draw new buffs, splitting into two tribes. No more Uli, just Hina and Kella. On Hina, there's Rizzo, Jawan, Nate, and Savannah from Old Uli, Matt and Jason from Hina, and Sophie from Kele. On New Blue Kele, there's Alex from Kele, Steven, Christina, MC, and Sophie from Hina, and Shannon and Sage from Uli. The challenge setup was a big trick. There's no challenge. Players head back to their new beaches, with the poor new Keles going back to that camp where they have nothing. MC calls this tragic, and I agree. At Hina, Sophie's thrilled to be at a camp that has stuff. She's drinking coconuts, making new friends, and fanning the flames between the other tribes. At Kele, players introduce themselves, with Shannon saying she's high vibe, Steven tells them he's a rocket scientist, and Sage shares that she collects pimples in a jar. Steven likes Shannon and Sage. Alex tells the group they were eating worms. Sophie S is not about that life. But hey, Sophie S is on the show. Back at Hina, Nate makes fire, the first fire that Sophie's seen at camp in 4 episodes. Sophie's plan is to bond with the 4 old Ulis and target Matt and Jason. Sophie and Savannah are queening out. They're the only girls on the tribe and want to work together. Sophie tells Savannah about Alex playing his idol and gains some trust. On Kele, Shannon leads the group in big meditation. Steven says Shannon is a shark in spiritual guru's body. He's considering targeting her if they go to tribal. Back at Hina, Nate is missing his kids. Sophie comforts him, giving him a big hug. Now she's got another person on her side. Savannah is trying to cover her bases, connecting with Jason and Matt. Jason tells Savannah that he's going to be loyal to his old tribe. In this moment, she appreciates his honesty. Savannah's interviewing the other players like a reporter, getting Matt to reveal that he has a background in finance. Then Savannah tells the other players that Matt has to be a sociopath to be successful in finance. On Kele, Shannon's meditation seems to have impressed Christina. Christina promises Shannon that she's not going home, and Christina shares that the next day will be the anniversary of her mother's death. Christina tells us the story about losing her mom to her addiction, breaking down to Shannon, and in confessional. It's a sweet moment. Sage feels like Shannon is laying it on thick with her spirituality at the new camp, more than she was on their old camp. Sage doesn't feel like she can keep up with Shannon's level of performative energy, and pretty much admits Shannon is working harder to secure votes. Players head to their challenge, and Christina's got Sophie's shoe that washed up on shore. A moment of hope. In the challenge, players will boat out to get cubes. Then one player will transport 10 of the cubes over a balance beam, and the other players will work together to get the other 10 blocks across another balance beam. Finally, they all have to work together to stack their blocks into a tall tower. The himbo immunity idol is no more. Players are competing for one immunity idol and a bunch of fruit. Sophie S complains that the fruit is a terrible reward that won't satisfy her, which is a foot in mouth moment that makes her look bad to the other players. They get started. Hina gets to a lead with the boats and get to the balance beams first. Hina puts Matt on the balance beam, and MC is on the beam for Kayla. Matt royally fumbles multiple times on the balance beam. Where is Debbie Weiner when you need her?
I have a really good sense of balance.
MC pulls far ahead for Kaylee, and they get to stacking the blocks with Shannon on MC's shoulders, and MC getting on Alex's back with Shannon on her shoulders. But Hina has all the tall people, putting tall Rizzo on top of tall Nate, so they decently catch up. But Kaylee are throwing each other around, working together to make an impressive formation, and they ultimately win immunity and reward. Christina kicks the stack in celebration, and the stack kicks Christina back. She dedicates this win to her mom. That's sweet. And Sophie S gets the fruit that she won't enjoy. So Hina are going to tribal, with Sophie heading to her 4th in a row, and Matt and Jason in deep doo-doo in the minority. Sophie is very, very confident that she'll be fine. Back at camp, Rizzo tells Sophie that he doesn't have his vote because of the beware advantage. Savannah leads the other Ulis in digging at the well. They find the clue for Rizzo, so Rizzo goes out and finds the idol in a treasure chest, and RIZGOD Rizgod gets his vote back, baby. Rizzo, Savannah, and Sophie debate between Matt and Jason as their target. Matt tells us that if you can make vodka out of a potato, he can make something out of this. And Matt starts his open campaign against Sophie, but he tells us he has a bigger plan in mind. He really wants to orchestrate a big blindside against Nate. Jason tells us he wants to play it safe, telling the other players that he's using his shot in the dark. Matt syncs up with Jawan, who he met on the journey. Matt proposes that he, Jawan, Jason, and Sophie vote for Nate. Jawan tells Matt that he's absolutely down, so Matt is thrilled. Matt names their alliance the Section. Jawan cracks up in confessional, telling us that he's playing Matt. I love Jawan's flame socks. Jawan runs this all back to the old Ulis, and Nate tells us that Matt is dead to him. But Savannah wants to target Jason because Jason isn't open to working with the Ulis at all. At Tribal, the Ulis announce Sophie as an honorary Uli. Matt is surprised to hear this, realizing his plans are falling apart. Savannah expresses her concerns about Jason staying loyal to the old Hinas, and Nate is rightfully still annoyed that Matt is targeting him. Nate accuses Matt of playing a selfish game, saying Matt didn't care if Jason went home. As long as it wasn't Matt, they get to voting, and when Nate votes for Matt, Nate says, "Go kick rocks, bro." And oop, very late in the episode, Nate said the thing. In the end, no advantages are played. Jeff reads the votes. There's 1 vote in that thing for Nate, 2 votes for Jason, and 4 for Matt, which means we say goodbye to Matt, our airport baggage worker, who I thought was really funny and silly preseason, but through the editing, he's just barely on the show until this last episode, which is a shame given these 90-minute episodes. We've seen him forming an alliance on Hina with Christina, Steven, and MC that instantly fell apart when MC tattled about it to Sophie S, and that alliance, which was probably the most real gameplay that we saw in Hina, now is irrelevant, so we barely know anything about the Hina players at this point. He told us he has survival skills, and we saw him making fire for the tribe, but I know deep in my heart, there's hours of awesome footage of Matt spearfishing that got left on the cutting room floor because he's an early boot. I am feeling a bit resentful of the edit because we have so many players that we just know so little about at this point, and it makes it so hard to assess what was Matt getting up to when the Kayleys were going through hell. In this episode, part of me wants to say he got screwed by the swap, but he had more than enough opportunity. His tribe was in the lead in the immunity challenge, and he cost them the win. Chat, if you were on Survivor and someone in the minority fell off a balance beam 3 times, you're gonna vote them out, right? Like, at that point, it seems like an easy vote. He attempts some strategy. I think going to the person you went on the journey with does make some rational sense, but the finesse was just not there. In fact, everything we saw Matt do strategically was ineffective, leading me to feel he just isn't a very good player, and ultimately he trusted way too many people.
You can't trust everybody.
And he gave some entertainment, but I think this was a good time for him to depart. The snake that bit Jake was tired of 3 tribes. It was so refreshing to see a 2-tribe game. This was a delight. Looking at these tribes, on one hand, we have the Kayleys, who were spared from this tribal. I found the Shannon vs. Sage decision on this tribe to be the most interesting part of the episode, and was disappointed we didn't get to see that play out. If they go to tribal after seeing Matt was voted out, the old Hinas on this tribe pretty much have to pick off one of the 2 of those girls. And we have the Hinas who just went to tribal. Sophie has worked her way into this group so well, making Sophie, for me, the player of the episode. Next week, if there's a puzzle, Jason is probably going to lead them to a victory, but for the old Ulis on this tribe, there's a very strong case to be made at this point for them to throw the next immunity challenge and take out Jason, which would help them to keep Shannon, Sage, and even Alex safe. But like I said, even if they try to throw the challenge, Jason might still do the puzzle, win the challenge, and blow up that plan. But that's all I have to say about this episode. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the tribe swap and Airport Matt packing his bags. If you like this content, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back next Wednesday with more Survivor. Until then, you know where to find me. Bye.